Welcome to another episode of Two Brothers Same Mother. It is Sheik. Of course, we got AJ as well. Some big news to talk about. You know, the Eagles saw that all the other teams were about to start and were like, nah, F that. We need to be in the headlines. Howie! Do something. I know what the Eagles did was essentially swap the 6th pick for the 12th pick and a first rounder for next year. Yes, they did move up a little bit from trading a early 5th rounder to a 4th rounder this year as well. A lot to actually unpack here because we've had a few days to digest it. And as you know, if you watch the show, we're not the rah-rah, screaming, yelling, that's it, and not think about it. So we'll start with the first reactions where we screamed and yelled and didn't think about it.
I was at work, right? And I saw the trade with the Dolphins and the Niners. And I immediately text this coworker of mine who's a huge Niners fan. Hey, think you guys getting a quarterback. The next one came and said the Eagles trade something. And I scrolled down and I don't suffer from high blood pressure. I do not. But in that, I legitimately, and folks, God's honest truth, I think I had a mini stroke. My face got hot. My lip started twinging and started drooping like this. I lost vision, like my vision was blurry. And all I could do was repeat, what the fuck, what the fuck? Like I literally had to stop the vehicle I was driving and pull over to the side so my heart started palpitating. I had shortness of breath, and I'm not exaggerating, like that legitimately happened to me. That was my initial reaction.
I will say for me, I saw the news and then I got the text from you a minute later. But all that ran through my head was how we talked about with the 6th pick, it's Howie proof, basically. Or Jeffrey proof for, it with the fact that they talked about 4 quarterbacks going in the first 6 picks, that means that you could probably get one of the top 3 best players in the draft. And then we spent all this time, as you know, if you watch the show or just talk to either of us individually, falling in love with a few of these people, whether it be Kyle Pitts or whether it be Patrick Surtain or whether it be Jamar Chase. And so when you see them trade down from 6 to 12, and I think what pissed me off more, which turned out to be an erroneous report, was the idea that they were trying to get the 3 to get Zach Wilson, the QB from BYU. Now, it turned out that Ian Rappaport apparently has a really bad tell in the Philadelphia Eagles organization.
Right. And it kind of, and that report blew up the Jets. You get what I'm saying? Situation.
Right. And I honestly, I have more faith in a report that says the Jets are going to take Zach Wilson number 2 than I do in a report that says the Eagles weren't interested in getting a QB. Right. Now, that was Friday, around 1:55. We've had a few days to digest it. And I'll ask you, what are your thoughts now on the trade, now that we've been able to calm down a sec and actually be more than just the fanatic fans that we are?
I actually, honestly, and it's God's honest truth, after you and I text back and forth and I screamed and punched a couple things, I calmed down. I did. I legitimately, to me, how I explain it to people when people ask me, what do you think the Eagles are doing? Why do you think the Eagles did that? It's 3 options, right? Option 1, you stockpile number 1 picks. You keep showing these videos of Jalen Hurts working out, stuff like that. And basically as the Eagles like to say assets, right? So, and you get either, if the thing with Deshaun blows over, or if Russell becomes available, you could use that to trade. I doubt any of that happens, but it's an option, right? Option 2 is you go into the season with Jalen Hurts. He plays really, really well. Now you have, I think different conflicting reports, but it's anywhere between $60 to $80 million under the cap and 3 first-round picks next year to build around Jalen. Option 3, Jalen plays like poo, and okay, we move on from the Jalen Hurts thing, and now you can use those assets to maybe move up into further in next year's draft and actually get a top flight quarterback. So with those things, so I'm cool with that. Now, the thing I heard, the reports, I read 3 different reports today,
which is what was the news coming out of Cincinnati and who they're going to take. And I'll let you take it from there.
So from day one, once we saw the draft board comes out, me, you, and a lot of people thought that Penny Sewell, the tackle out of Oregon, was going to Cincinnati. Almost 95% of mock draft 2.0, 6.0,
Right.
15.0 had Penny Sewell going to the Bengals. And then the report comes out, not just like I said, well, not just out of Philly or Jersey, actually out of Cincinnati as well, is that the reason why the Eagles moved back is because a little birdie had let them know that they were going to take Jamar Chase at 5.
So I'm looking at one mock draft here. Obviously, I don't agree with it, but Lawrence and Zach Wilson, they have the Niners drafting Mac Jones, number 3.
There has been rumors that they moved up to get Mac Jones.
Right.
That
Atlanta,
sounds like the Bears with Trubisky shit.
right. Atlanta's drafting Sewell. Now they have the Bengals drafting Slater. Obviously, we know they're probably going to get Jamar Chase. They have the Dolphins drafting Jalen Waddle, and then the Lions drafting Chase. I think that's the Lions are going to actually get Slater. That's the offensive lineman from Northwestern that's been moving up.
Okay. I actually think that Miami may draft Pitts to keep him in Florida.
No, they just drafted. They have a really decent tight end that they just drafted from Penn State 2 years ago. So I don't know. That's what they're trying to do, the 2 tight end set, which there's no reason to think they would. The Broncos, they have drafted Micah Parsons to kind of replace Von Miller, and
that's a possibility. I could see that.
Cowboys, Patrick Surtain. They have the Giants getting an offensive lineman with Vera Tucker, who's out of USC, which honestly, if that happened, that would be a gift from heaven, which means that at 12, we would be drafting Kyle Pitts. But with that being said, Devontae Smith would still be there too. And my mock draft, I wanted Devontae Smith at 6.
Devontae Smith reminds me of Santana Moss.
I don't think I think he's bigger than Santana Moss as far as height. He's just round.
I mean, yeah, Santana was like what, 5'9", 5'10".
Yeah, Devontae Smith 6'1".
Yeah, I mean, listen, man. Here's the thing.
You really want defense, which I get.
No, not just that. You still got Fogel on your team, right? You have Rieger on your team. You just signed the tenure for Ward today as your slot receiver at today. They're not going receiver. And if you're saying the reports are true, if that more than likely they're going to keep Zach Ertz, Pitts ain't coming in.
So that means defense. And that's where, listen, man, if you get Rousseau, if you get Farley, if you get J.C. Horn, I'm okay with that. Honestly, if the Eagles decided to, let's say they're the ones that trade New England, drop back a couple picks, and then get, I don't know, Xavier Collins, the linebacker out of Tulsa, who I think is going to be a steal of the draft. I mean, I wouldn't want him at 12, but if you're able to trade back and then get another first-round pick or a second-round pick, which the Eagles don't need to do. Here's the thing.
No,
the Eagles in the next three drafts are going to have 3 first-rounders or 2 first-rounders and the second from the Colts, but let's say 3 first-rounders. They already got 2, I think, 3 second-rounders and like 3 third-rounders in the next couple of years too. They don't really need more picks. I mean, you always have more picks, but they don't really need it. But the point is, I think looking back, somebody you really want is going to be there.
And I agree with you. I definitely at first at one time I was cool with the Greg Rousseau thing. I'm not going to be cool with a defensive line. We have 2. You just signed the 10 years for fucking Derek Barnett. You just extended, and I get it. It was a cap thing with Brandon Graham. You still got Josh Sweat on the team. I think there's the other defense. You got too much shit invested in your defensive line to draft at 12.
I don't think you have as much as you think. I think Brandon Graham's restructuring means that you could get rid of him next year.
But we're talking about this upcoming season. You're not going to waste a 12th round pick to play him in 2023. Brandon Graham or 2022. 2022. No, well, no, that's stupid. That's fucking just dumb. If you draft, we are talking about Howie Roseman, but so it wouldn't surprise me. But you just paid $10 million to Derek Barnett, 10 million,
Right.
and then you got Brandon Graham on the other side. Why would you take a 12th pick on another defensive end? So you
Because I'm not
sit him,
expecting you're not going to win anything this year, and Brandon Graham's not going to be here next year.
but you're still going to waste a top 15 pick on a player you're not going to play for 2 years or a year.
I'm not going to play him much this year. He's going to be rotation, and then next year,
That's what you drafted in the third and fourth round, not pick 12. That's
but why? I mean, I'm not saying what I believe. I'm just going by logic here of the way they think. Because here's the thing.
That is no logic. That is stupid.
Yeah, I agree. I'm trying. You
Let me
guys see what I'm saying?
Devil's advocate. I get what you're saying.
You
So
know,
I'm not yelling at you. I'm just yelling.
yes.
General, it's mentally disabled because we are a.
It's mentally disabled.
I can't say the other word.
It is illogical. It is dumb. It is something that you are thinking you're trying to be the smartest guy in the room. Like, bottom line is this: to me, you have
That's
young
handicap sticker qualification.
Right, there you go. Here's your sign for anybody that ever wants
right.
But you signed Derek Barnett, which means that you're going to give him a shot for the next couple of years. This isn't a one-year deal with Derek Barnett, right?
Right.
Josh Sweat, I think, is coming on. Brandon Graham, I think, is your team leader. Even though he is, I think it's his contract's for 3 years and they have it out after the first one. Is that right?
Yeah, or after 2 years or something. Yeah.
But I think Brandon Graham, honestly, you should let him just play out as the Eagle. That doesn't, so even if that is just for the next 3 years.
And you and I have been in agreement. Like, listen, to me, if you drafted, even though I think Jamar Chase is going to be a phenomenal receiver, say we stayed at pick, I would be disappointed if we drafted him and didn't go with Patrick Surtain, just for the simple fact, because now you're telling everybody on this team, and you and I have said this personally, so this is why I want to let everybody know why I feel this way. Every coach on this team, outside of our offensive line coach, is a first-year coach in that position or at this level, i.e. the quarterback's coach. He's been a quarterback's coach, but he was never a quarterback's coach at the pro position. You know what I'm saying? So that's every position outside the offensive line coach is first time in this position. Even our head coach is a first time, not only head coach, but first time play caller. Okay. Now you got this kid who's a first time starter going into a season. Yes, he started 4 games last year, but he wasn't the starter, quote unquote.
He wasn't the man. Right? Yeah.
Yes, he wasn't the man. So with that, now you have an offensive line that's solid when healthy. Top 5 offensive line, honestly, when healthy. But like you said, the defense needs help. So if you would have drafted a skills position at 6 or even at 12, what you're telling this team and these coaches are, okay, now you need to try to outscore these teams that have far better skill positions all over than you do. Not to mention 2 of the teams, and I'm talking about in the division, 2 of the teams have a top 7 defenses. You get what I'm saying? So you have 2 teams that have very, very strong defense in Giants and Washington. Good offenses. Now, you know what I'm saying? I get a Daniel Jones, but they surrounded Daniel Jones with so much that, like I said before, you and I could look mediocre as a quarterback in that system right now. Okay? Yeah. So, and then the Cowboys are the Cowboys. They always lose games 38-35 or win games 41-38. You understand what I'm saying? So now you're going to have all this and you're trying to match points and you don't have the firepower, especially especially not just offensively, especially defensively. Slow those teams down. Give
Scary
yourself
thing is that sounds exactly like Jeffrey Lurie.
I know, and it's crazy. It's crazy. If you get a defender, even J.C. Horn, who I watched some really big tape on, he's actually a lot better than I thought he was. But if
he's not a bum at all.
Or Caleb Farley, who I personally rank slightly above J.C. Horn, but I'm with you. They draft either one of those guys at 12, I will not be mad.
I know a lot of people have Horn above Farley now too. I think that there are a lot closer. I mean, I personally think, to me, Patrick Surtain's a top 10 pick. Caleb Farley's between 10 and 19. J.C. Horn would be between 20 to 32 or even early second round. And then Asante
I
Samuel
put
Jr.
J.C.
is
Horn a
fourth.
little higher. That 20 to 32 range is where I put Asante Samuel the second.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like, and that's fine too. I was just, kind of using the same.
Right.
So with that being said, and I'm not. This is not a suggestion that we should draft a skilled offensive position.
I'm not saying we shouldn't. I would prefer.
Gotcha. What would this team need to do or need to happen for you to feel at the end of the season, Jalen Hurts got a fair shot to show what he can do?
Just be competitive. Like we said, the 2016 season. You saw some up and downs with Wentz, right? His rookie year. But a lot of times I'll go to that IE that they start off 3-0. I don't expect Jalen Hurts to come out like those first 3 games, like gangbusters the way Wentz did. But if that would be great. But if I remember that Detroit game where all everybody talked about at the end of the game for a little while was, oh, Wentz threw that interception
And ignored the Ryan Matthews fumble.
Yeah, yes, and ignored that. And it's funny that the person that intercepted him was Darius Slay. But anyway, but
yes, some may argue the last interception that he had that had an impact in Philadelphia. But that's a whole nother story.
Right. Yeah. So it's so then so instead of going to those things, and but like you said, if as long as we're competitive and Hurts as the season goes on, you can see different things. And I'm not talking about your fantasy football team. I'm not talking to you, Joe. I'm talking to other people. I'm not talking about how many points he gets on your fantasy football team. I'm talking about, hey, on last week against the Giants, he didn't see that corner coming off the edge and he got hit and he fumbled. Okay. He gets to that situation another week or 2 later. He reads that, he gets rid of the ball faster. That's the type of shit I need to see.
So, okay, and what you're saying, and I just want to make sure I clarify. They're competitive. Competitive would mean that, hey, they might lose by 10, but if they're losing by 10 because maybe the other team scored a
They
late
just don't have the
touchdown.
horses.
Yeah, right.
Or they just don't have the horses.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They just, you know what I mean? It's just like,
so even if they finish,
because sometimes you can see it, they're trying. Like the Arizona game last year with Jalen Hurts, the Eagles just didn't have the horses, but they fought. They were down with 16-0, something like that, and 19-0 or some shit, and they came roaring back. And you get what I'm saying? They just fought. They just didn't have the horses to keep up.
So even if this team finishes, let's say 5-12, but you could see in, let's say, 7 of those 12 games could have been a win if a couple plays went your way. It wasn't really, with the exception of the elite teams that you played, you didn't get blown out. I expect Hurts to have 1 or 2 bad games. He's a rookie, or he's a second-year player, but he's a second-round pick as well. That's my expectation.
First-year starter.
Yeah.
He was a project.
Because my biggest concern is people are going to say, well, Russell Wilson was a 3rd-round pick, and we got to get him out of here. Rah, rah, rah. And when I say people, I don't mean fans. I mean media and Jeffrey Lurie.
Actually, the team started struggling once it wasn't about the defense no more, who basically protected Russ. And that's when the Legion of Boom guys was like, yo, peace. And they went their separate ways. And when they decided that it wasn't about the Legion of Boom, it was about letting Russ cook.
So 5 pack of questions here. We're going to get into that, and I thought we'd get into some unique stuff, but I'm actually going to start with something just football related. If you could swap out the link for any stadium, doesn't have to be NFL, any stadium in the world, and just plop it into Philadelphia, what would it be?
Wembley. Man, I know you saw it personally, but how huge it looks and how the crowd sounds like on that field just looks crazy.
I don't think it's great for American football, but in that regard, I would take Penn State Stadium. Put it there.
Ooh, yeah.
Yes, exactly. But it's the same type of idea. Is there anything as far as growing up that typical kids did that you never did? And this is
Mm,
what made me think of this. I was watching something and I realized I think I've made maybe 2 paper airplanes in my life. I was never someone that made paper airplanes and flew them. Like, but that's something typically that kids do. They have the paper airplanes and all that. Like, that's something that even nowadays kids make paper airplanes, even roll video games and stuff.
I never thought girls had cooties. You know, if you get what I'm saying. Like I never was like, ew, gross girls. Like I never had that. I was always like, ooh, girls. So I was never that boy that was like, ew,
Now,
girls.
see, we were talking about
Oh,
things
I
that you
went
didn't do that kids do, not things that kids didn't do but you did. That's
I didn't play with bugs.
you were never into bugs, nothing like that. Okay, cool.
No, I wasn't into bugs.
If you could own any car, okay, whether it's a realistic car that you actually could save up to buy or futuristic, what would it be?
Probably 60. If I'm not sure if they made it so any of you car fanatics get me wrong, but yeah, it would be my imaginary. She would probably be like a Shelby Cobra convertible, like a '69. I think it was '69 was when Shelby came out with his first Cobra. But
Nice. See, so realistically, um, I would love to own a Mustang. I always thought Mustangs.
what the Shelby Cobra is, it's a type
Right.
of Mustang.
Right. Yeah, I know that's where I'm going, with it. But you know what? If I was going to go imaginary, I kind of would want the Back to the Future DeLorean.
I knew you were gonna go DeLorean.
Yeah.
I knew you were gonna go DeLorean. I knew you were gonna go DeLorean.
Either that, either the DeLorean or the Batmobile.
And no, the Batmobile, if I wanted it, was the old joint. The joint that I used to watch the reruns on Nick at Night, the Pow Bam Batmobile. The one with the no top and the siren, like right.
I wanted the Batmobile from the the Tim Burton Batman, the late 80s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, the Christian Bale one was cool, but that seemed really uncomfortable where you got to drive like that. Speaking of superheroes, this was a question I actually asked in a meeting. And I just thought about it. If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Yo, that's crazy you asked that shit. We as a family had this not debate today in my household. So if it was a superpower, it would be like basically like Professor Xavier's or Jean Grey's power.
See, I would want to be like Wolverine with the healing. Not so much the metal claws and all that, but was it antimadium where you can heal up?
No, animadium was what his claws were made of.
Right. Okay, yeah. So, but I
was inside of him because he could heal so fast. His actual mutant power is just healing. All the other stuff was added to him.
Right. I mean, listen, man, I stubbed my toe. That thing hurt for a half hour. I just don't, what I mean? Like, I just did it. I would just want to heal like that.
Yeah, years ago, it seems like I had this conversation like a couple times a year about what power. And I had a boss, and he was a cool dude. And he was just like, what? He laughed at me when I said that power. And he said, well, I would be Superman, and I'd kick your ass. I said, no, you wouldn't. He goes, yeah, I would. I was like, no, you wouldn't. Because as soon as you try to fly at me, I would just be like, flying to that wall. Bang. I was like, now punch yourself in the dick. Bang. Now go fly to the sun. You know what I mean? Like, fuck.
Now, I will say this, and it's funny because I heard this made me laugh. Anyone that says that they would love to be invisible is a creep.
Yeah.
And the final question, believe it or not, we've gone through these kind of quick. If you could choose one Philadelphia sports team, and I mean the year and the team, that you could say, you know what, I want to change history, and they won the championship, what would it be? And there's a lot of candidates, unfortunately, in our lifetime. Because you think about it, I mean, for me, now I haven't have a real answer that I'm going to go with. But I mean, you think about like the 93 Phillies, that would have kind of been a storybook ending. Or the 2001 Sixers, I think would have been just as beloved, if not more so, than the 2017 Eagles, just for how much of
Yeah, I have a tie. I have a tie.
Go ahead.
It's a tie, and it's the same year. The 01 Sixers and the 01 Eagles. Because that 01 Eagles team was beloved. Like nobody expected that team, and then they just, you know what I'm saying? They were just tough and gritty, and they, you know what I'm saying? And just, and
I to me, it would be the '04 Eagles, only because it's about time. I think Donovan's in the Hall of Fame, and I personally believe if we win that Super Bowl, they do restructure T.O.'s contract before any of the shenanigans.
the only reason I didn't pick the '04 was nothing against T.O.
I'd say, or and all things that I like T.O. here. Really, if I think about it, honestly, it would probably be the 2002 Eagles, just because of what we went through with Tampa Bay. And I know for a fact if we make that Super Bowl, we beat the Raiders.
Right. So and that was pretty much the same team. The '01 Eagles, the '02
Right.
Eagles, just in that aspect. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like just the teams before T.O. And nothing against T.O., but yeah, but 01 Eagles and the '01 Sixers, I can't differentiate the two. They're two of my
I'll give you
favorite
one more,
teams
man.
of all time.
For me, I think it was the 2011 Phillies.
The crazy thing is the 2011 Phillies were better than or is it the 2010 Phillies were better than the '08 Phillies?
The 2011 Phillies were better than the '08 Phillies. It was the Phillies with Cliff Lee, with Roy Halladay, with the one with Roy Halladay's first postseason game. He pitches a perfect game.
Bro, that 11, I was like, yo, we getting our number 2, bro.
Right. When we lost to the Cardinals 1-0, and the game we were up 3-0, and Cliff Lee gave up, had probably his worst start of his career. Like that squad, I was living in New York at the time. So living in New York, rooting for Philly, it was a little different.
Right.
But I was in love with that squad. One other caveat I'd throw out there, which, you were obviously extremely young. It was before my time. I think it would have been cool if the '86ers would have won it, as opposed to losing to the Lakers, where Magic Johnson in his rookie year played center. For that
Yeah, I
one.
was way too. I mean, I was young, but I don't remember really.
And to give you a history lesson, the Sixers, so they were up and lost to the Portland Trailblazers, the Bill Walton Portland Trailblazers in the late '70s, which was considered, a huge disappointment.
That was like 78 or something, wasn't it? Something
77,
like
78.
Yeah.
Then with the Lakers, it was such a bad loss for them to lose to the Lakers with a rookie. With Kareem was out, Magic played center as a rookie, and they won. It was
Not
such.
only did he play center, he played all 5 positions in that game.
Right. He started as center.
Yes.
That the Philadelphia 76ers ran an ad that said, "We owe you one," to the fans. And it made Dr. J almost hate basketball, to the point where when they finally won in '83, he was just like, he couldn't even enjoy it. So, like, to me,
because Dr. J was considered that one that couldn't win the big one.
Those Sixers teams, and here's the whole thing: they don't win in '83. I think Dr. J and Donovan McNabb are pretty much the same type of dude, the way that they looked at it. You know what I mean?
What changed the outcome of that '83 was the addition of Moses
Malone, which T.O. same type of. It's just crazy how history repeats. Now, Moses Malone didn't do sit-ups in his parking lot. You know what I mean? The following year.
They just said, how do you think, what are your outlooks on the playoff? And he said 3, 4, 4.
But
I got to find that T-shirt. There's a T-shirt of that. So they actually made a T-shirt where he was like, I think he said 3, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4.
No, 4, 4, 4. And they ended up going 5, 4, 4.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I thought that was just fun. That's actually our show. It went real quick. But next week will be, we'll be coming up. We'll be past Easter. So have a good Easter, have a good Passover, or just have a good week of spring.
Have a good Friday.
You said what?
I said have a good Friday.
Oh, Phillies opening day. I love how they're playing the Atlanta Braves, and in Atlanta it's going to be 78 degrees, but they wanted to play in Philly where the high is going to be 42 and rainy. All 4 sports teams are being talked about in Philly. I know some people talk about soccer and 545 and all that. There's nothing to talk about the Union right now. I actually watch soccer here, there. there's no need to right now. So I don't want to hear any of that stuff or, whatever. Villanova's out, so no college basketball either. Temple was out after like the 5th game of the season. So, but all right, y'all, have a good week. Enjoy your holiday if you celebrate. Peace.
Peace.